Oh, it is. It is another episode of Donno Daily, a bullish Monday edition. We love to wear the Bitcoin gear on Mondays, my friends. Welcome into everyone watching us live here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, taking you for the next hour until 1 p.m. today. If you're watching live, make sure you take advantage of the chat live feature. Our guy Lenoris is already in. He wants to talk about Tua and Deshaun Watson. The chat live feature is awesome here on YouTube, so make sure you chat with us. Make sure you smash that like button while you're here. And if you haven't already, subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube. It's going to be a very busy show today. We're going to talk all things Dolphins. These Deshaun Watson reports are just not going away. We're going to spend a good chunk of time on that. We're going to spend a chunk of time on the Dolphins preseason finale yesterday and the roster decisions. I was thoroughly entertained. Final preseason game, the Dolphins didn't play any of their starters, and yet that was lit last night. Reid Sinnett, retire his jersey already. We're also going to talk some Miami Heat with Allana Tachauer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And a reminder, this show is proudly brought to you by our official sportsbook, BetUS.com. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. You can join now for a 125% sign-up bonus or 200% if you deposit with crypto. So 125% with credit card, 200% if you sign up with crypto. Use our code. You can see it there on the screen, 5RSN125 for that sweet sign-up bonus. And guys, this is the time to sign up. People always ask me, Donno, where do I go to place wagers online? I know it can be a little bit intimidating, or it feels intimidating if you've never done it before. Trust me, BetUS makes it so easy. Their customer service is second to none. They're going to make you feel comfortable. And now is the time to get in, guys, with college football starting in earnest this weekend. I know we had some games week 0, but week 1 is coming up this weekend. The NFL week 1 is a couple of weeks away. Now is the time to create your account and get betting at BetUS.com. You can bet sports. They've got an online casino, bet horses, even pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. We're also brought to you by the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Oh, I went to the Quarterdeck last week, my friends. It was glorious. I'm going to be out there tomorrow as well. Tomorrow feels like a buffalo shrimp day. The seafood is so fresh at the Quarterdeck. The sushi, the oysters, Maine lobster, the buffalo shrimp. Guys, the burgers are delicious. Try the French dip sandwich. The sandwiches are great there as well. They have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day at the Quarterdeck. The happy hour never ends. And make the Quarterdeck your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with 0 cover charge. You pay nothing at the door at the Quarterdeck to watch a UFC pay-per-view. If you want to peep their menu before you go or find the location nearest to you, visit them online at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. So we already have Lenoris Murray in. Why in the hell are they trying to get him? Talking about Deshaun Watson. Ninja Viking, I can respect this. Reid Sinnett is the GOAT. Put him on the practice squad, and boom, now we have a backup for next season. That's the way I would like to see him develop. I didn't think Reid Sinnett had it in him, what he did yesterday, because the little preseason action we saw him get prior, he looked like a deer in the headlights. 343 passing yards yesterday for Sinnett, who played all 4 quarters. I know in preseason, a lot of quarterbacks get rotated in and out. They don't play all 4 quarters. But Sinnett, his yardage total yesterday, 343 yards, was an NFL high for this year's preseason. No other quarterback has thrown for that many yards in preseason. 2 touchdown passes. They were both glorious. God, I want Kirk Merritt on this team. I know it's hard with the depth at wide receiver. I feel like that guy is earning a spot. Brooklyn Rob writes in, Sinnett needs time to develop. He will become a good back. He needs another season on the practice squad. I agree. Also, remember, he was playing against guys who will be looking for jobs next week. Not entirely. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals, they suck regardless, okay? But the Cincinnati Bengals actually had some starters playing. So it was the Dolphins 3s going up against the Bengals 1s and 2s. So you actually got, depth chart-wise, actually a tougher look from the Bengals than you did from the Atlanta Falcons the week prior. Now, you did even see a cameo for Joe Burrow, who was on and off the field in the blink of an eye. 3 snaps, just 1 incomplete pass. Does Cincinnati have a little bit of a Jamar Chase problem? It's still so early, and he's so good. And he didn't play football last year. Let's remember he opted out his final year at LSU, but that guy is dropping everything left and right. I don't think it's time to be concerned about Jamar Chase yet, but I think that time might come. So I know a lot of people are in today, and this is a development that came out since the last time that we were on the air, guys, with the Dolphins again being linked to Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson, who wanted to be traded potentially to Miami even before the lawsuits came out. He has 22 accusers of sexual misconduct. There have been 10 criminal complaints filed, no charges brought up yet. The FBI are reportedly sniffing around, but no charges brought up yet. So I was reading a good piece from Albert Breer today, kind of his take on why the Deshaun Watson to Miami rumors are starting to heat up again. Right, because this has been dormant. This has been really quiet. And I thought it was going to stay quiet because Tua has been really good. Like Tua Tagovailoa, and hello, Cap. Tua Tagovailoa has had an excellent training camp, a very good preseason, specifically the game against the Falcons where he showed out. So why is it that now at the very end of the preseason are the Dolphins suddenly getting strongly linked to Deshaun Watson again? I want to flash up a couple of tweets here. First of all, I like this from our guy, Joe Shad from the Palm Beach Post. Joe Shad ran a Twitter poll for his followers, and this pretty much caught fire. He says, final poll results after 7,000 plus votes, 68% say no on Deshaun Watson. His poll was, should the Dolphins acquire Deshaun Watson if the price is reasonable? I don't know how he defines reasonable is the thing. Like, well, what's reasonable for a guy with, pending litigation and could be suspended? But no wins the vote at 68%. Yes, it's just 32%. The Fires were really stoked last night. Josh Mosier of Channel 7 tweeted out, this is a conversation he had with Drew Rosenhaus, the super agent. Now, Rosenhaus, by the way, he's not Deshaun Watson's agent, but he does know people, right? People talk to Drew. He understands the inner workings of the league. Josh Mosier tweeted out, Drew Rosenhaus tells me that he, quote unquote, would not be surprised to see Deshaun Watson with the Miami Dolphins for the first game of the regular season. That's 13 days away, folks. More tonight on 7 Sports Extra, he said. So, yeah, you got Drew spewing out some rumors out there. And then Omar Kelly tweeted out yesterday. This was after Brian Flores addressed the media. The Dolphins had 24 hours to figure out how to extinguish the Deshaun Watson trade rumors and didn't. Yeah, because the thing about that was Flo was asked about the Deshaun Watson reports, rumors, whatever you want to call it, in the post-game presser. And he didn't give the hard no that a lot of people were expecting or wondering if he would give, right? That he actually, Flores basically said, I don't talk about players who are not on this team. I talk about players who are on the roster. And I see Louis D. Sung's comment here. And I did see this. And actually, I think Sean has this to flash on the screen. Louis Sung said, you should see the Big E tweet this morning. Charles Robinson from Yahoo, who's the guy who sparked this whole thing, basically admitted he doesn't know if the teams have talked recently. It's all speculation, all of it. And I really hope that's the case. So I don't know how Drew Rosenhaus took that based on speculation and ran with it and said he wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun Watson is a Dolphin by week 1. But yeah, Lewis is right. That Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports was the guy who on Saturday had this report that the Dolphins were the front runner. Now we're all taking that outdated information and really making a meal of it. Now, regardless, an interesting read this morning, MMQB, Albert Breer, he basically explains why the Deshaun Watson rumors are heating up again. Why now, right? When they've been very quiet, especially the Dolphins links had been very quiet for a couple of months. Why are they heating up now? To put it simply, the Houston Texans are running out of time to do something, anything, right? The rosters, every roster in the league, including our Dolphins, including the Houston Texans, they need to be cut down to 53 men in just over 24 hours. 4 p.m. tomorrow, you've got to have your 53-man roster set. You're cutting down from 80 to 53, okay? So the Houston Texans have to figure out what to do with Deshaun Watson on or off their roster. Do they pretend he's injured and stash him on IR? Do they just keep him on the team but not playing? Meaning you really have a 52-man roster and a guy we don't know what to do with, who's costing you a lot of money, by the way. Do they beg him to actually play football? Do they find a way to get Deshaun on the field? Or the fourth option, and this is what the Texans are clearly trying to do at this point, do they find a trade partner within the next 28 hours? Because I'm sure they would love to move on from Deshaun. Now, here's an issue here. And, we can all debate how interested teams like the Miami Dolphins, Carolina Panthers, Manny was telling me, Manny Chang, who's very connected with the Philadelphia Eagles because he's a huge fan. He listens to Philly sports radio. He's hearing some buzz that the Eagles may not be out of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. So whatever team might want to acquire him, the asking price is still ridiculous. Okay, Nick Caserio, the Texans general manager, is still asking for 3 first-round picks and a pair of second-rounders. That to me seems a little bit insane for a player who has 22 pending lawsuits and 10 criminal complaints to his name right now, and these have not been resolved yet, okay? Caserio, though, you think about the spot that he's in, and he just took over this offseason as general manager of the Houston Texans. Caserio can't screw this up, right? Because it's his ass and his job on the line. So you would imagine if Nick Caserio were to trade Deshaun Watson at a discount, right? Because a team could rightfully say, bro, we don't know if this guy's going to get suspended. We don't know if he's going to get put in prison. I can't give you 3 1s and 2 2s. I'm going to give you a 1 and a player. You're going to have to take a discount. If he were to trade Watson for a discount, and then hypothetically in a few months, Watson somehow does get cleared of everything, then Caserio would surely get fired for dealing away an asset like that for basically nothing. I mean, not nothing, but you know what I mean, a huge discount. So for any team that might be interested in trading for Watson, this is such a gamble from their side as well, because then if you actually meet Caserio's asking price and you send Houston a huge bounty of draft picks, let's think about the other side of it. What if he doesn't get cleared? Okay, what if Watson ends up getting suspended by the league or indicted and convicted criminally? Okay, that's a huge problem for the team that acquires him. Then the GM that acquired him, their ass and their job would be on the line, okay? So interested teams, something that I see a lot of chatter on this, and I understand it, interested teams would want to make a trade for Watson contingent on him not getting suspended or criminally charged. So they would basically want to say, hey, I'll give you draft picks, but then if he gets suspended or indicted, the deal is void, right? That's what teams are. But Caserio is not willing, at least at this time, to include conditions like that. Now, let me give you my take, because that may or may not be why you're here. You may not care what I think, but I do think the way I think is the way that at least 68% of Dolphin fans think, according to that Joe Shad poll. I do not want the Dolphins to make this deal. And again, I get it. Louis Sung pointed out the Big E tweet. Maybe the Dolphins aren't even interested. Maybe this is just recycled old information. I hope that's the case. But I do not want the Miami Dolphins to make a deal for Deshaun Watson. You have spent years building this team in Tua Tagovailoa's image, because that process, it started even before Tua was drafted. You started preparing for Tua Tagovailoa's arrival a year before he even got here. Miami committed to a rebuild behind a young quarterback, this young quarterback specifically. You chose your offensive coordinators here because of their strong relationship with Tua. They've designed their playbook for Tua Tagovailoa. You're drafting and acquiring receivers that fit with Tua, including his former college teammate in Jalen Waddle. And I've seen it with my own eyes, guys. Training camp, preseason, Tua is getting better every day. He's had a great camp, a solid preseason. He's an ideal teammate, family man, leader, role model, all those things. I don't believe Deshaun Watson is right now. Guys, Tua is 23 years old. He's still on his rookie contract. If you keep Tua, you also keep those 3 future first round and 2 future second round picks to continue fortifying the team around him. And his salary is very team friendly compared to Deshaun Watson. If you were to trade for Watson, you throw those draft assets away, including Tua, because you're likely going to have to throw him away in the gutter as well to acquire Deshaun. So if the Dolphins were to discard a guy who I believe is not only a great human being, but an ascending quarterback like Tua for a morally bankrupt individual like Deshaun Watson, guys, I've been a Dolphins fan all my life. But if they throw Tua in the garbage to bring in Deshaun Watson, I'm going to have to take a long, hard look in the mirror to decide if I can still support this football team that I grew up obsessed with, okay? It's not going to be easy to sell it to your fan base. I know what you're thinking. Hey, if they win a Super Bowl, that cures everything. Okay. I still don't think they would be Super Bowl favorites if Deshaun were to come in, but they'd be closer to that than they are now. But how do you sell it to your fan base outside of winning is the only thing that matters to your female fans, to your fans who are parents of daughters, even your fans who are parents of sons who might see this sleazeball as a role model if he arrives here? It's a hard sell to the fan base. And I think the Joe Shad poll speaks volumes. So again, would Deshaun Watson give you a better chance at a Super Bowl right now than Tua? Probably so. But at what cost? I am not a fan of this idea. And full disclosure, before the allegations and the lawsuits, I was very interested in acquiring Watson. Very. I just think he's too much damaged goods at this point. I'm not a fan of the idea, and people have been disagreeing with me on social media, and that's fine. Maybe you think all 22 of these accusers are lying. I don't think that's the case, or you don't really care if they're lying or not, as long as he doesn't get charged criminally and can settle these cases. I'm not in that boat with you, my friends. All right, so we'll circle back to more Dolphins. Oh, so Alfredo is in the waiting room. I thought Allana was first for some reason. I don't really care. I'll go to Alfredo Arteaga if he is ready to talk some Miami Dolphins with me. The man, the myth, the legend from 3 yards per carry. Hello, Alfredo.
Did anything happen while I was gone?
Oh, my God. Well, what about when I was gone? It's funny, Alfredo, because I did a show, obviously, every weekday. I did a show last Friday, and we were just talking about, roster cuts, and we will get to some of that because that's a big thing hanging over our head over the next 27 and a half hours. But, yeah, all this, the renewed Deshaun Watson stuff just really kind of fell into our laps. And I was happy that Lewis pointed out in the chat that Big E, found this interview with Charles Robinson, who was the guy who restoked these flames, basically saying he doesn't know whether or not these teams are talking with Houston right now. And I take some comfort in that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Alf, where do you sit on this idea? Because with how much better I see Tua getting and the way the team is getting built around him, and of course the cloud that's hanging over Deshaun Watson's head, I would be livid if they were to make this trade. Where do you fall on this?
Well, I was driving back from the Keys yesterday, and I kept hearing this little ping on my phone going ping, ping, and it did so about 40, 50 times. And I was wondering, who knows? Maybe there was a terrorist attack or something. It seems that terrorist was Charles Robinson because what he dropped online and now how he's walking it back is, I don't know, it's journalistic malpractice, I think.
Yeah.
He's essentially saying he really didn't know, and he even used the term process of elimination to get to who is actually trading for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, I'm completely with you. Like, Chris Greer would not be doing his job if he didn't at least play some phone calls.
Yeah.
Because there is a sweetheart scenario. If the Houston Texans are willing to sell cheap on Deshaun Watson, Dolphins can trade for him, stash him for a year, and then this will be Tua's rehearsal for the season. And if Tua's good, then you sell Deshaun Watson to the highest bidder. If Tua's bad, then you already have your quarterback, and then you sell Tua to the highest bidder. So there's a sweetheart scenario. Now, is Houston really going to part with Deshaun Watson for, next to nothing as far as value-wise? I doubt it. So I think that they'll hold to their guns. I've always had the gut feeling that Deshaun Watson would end up playing in 2022 in Houston for the Texans. So I think that that's the trajectory we will end up on.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, before you came on, I talked about Houston's options, right? Because they need to figure something out in the next 24 hours, whether they trade him, if they just decide to pretend he's injured and stash him on the IR or, pay him not to play. Then you've got a 52-man roster essentially, which kind of sucks for them. So they've got to figure out. So you're saying you think the most likely scenario is he actually plays for the Houston Texans this year?
Or next year. I say next year. I think he plays next. I think they stash him for the year. And think about it. Right now, you have all of this hanging over his head, possible criminal charges.
Yeah.
If all of that blows over, then he's twice as valuable. And then if you want to trade him, then you'll get more, and you probably will get your asking price if you're Houston, because that way the Dolphins would have seen Tua for a year, the Eagles would have seen Jalen Hurts for a year, and Carolina would have seen Sam Darnold for a year. So your three main suitors would be sitting there a little bit more desperate at the end of the year. So I think that this gets punted for a season until next year.
Do you think Brian Flores should have done a better job addressing it yesterday? Because he took a page out of the Belichick playbook. He could have killed the rumors off. So it led some people to say, hey, if he didn't kill it off, that means there must be something to it. Like he said, I don't want to talk about anyone who's not on this roster. So he left the door open. Do you think Flores should have been more emphatic?
I think so. I think if he had communicated with Chris Greer, and maybe Chris Greer told him, yeah, we did speak to the Texans, a month back or 2 weeks ago. We spoke to them about, lowering their asking price. Maybe that conversation happened. And if that conversation happened, I could see Brian Flores being coy with it. If not, I think he should have just killed the rumor completely and just said, you know what? Tua Tagovailoa, hopefully he's healthy, and if he's healthy, he will play 17 games for us this year. And I think that's probably what he should have said, but he didn't. He did that coach speak thing. But, it is interesting that once before in this offseason or during training camp, when he was asked about Xavier Howard, and he finally put an end to those rumors when he said, we're not trading Xavier Howard, write that down. And maybe something like that would have been nice yesterday.
We're joined here by Alfredo Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I was not expecting to be as entertained as I was by the final preseason game where the Dolphins had third and fourth stringers. Like, that game was absolutely lit yesterday. I'm going to start chiseling the Reed Sinnett statue to put it right next to Dan Marino outside of Hard Rock Stadium. He was awesome. What do you think Reed's future holds? Practice squad, I'm sure, but do you think he could be, if nothing else, a future Dolphins backup, like a future second team guy?
Well, I'm completely with you. I was thoroughly entertained by that game. I finally got into my house like the start of the second quarter, so I missed the entire first quarter, and I saw fireworks, and it was fun. What a finish. But if you're a Reed Sinnett fan, that was not a good game for you, because I'm almost certain, I don't have any information on this, but I'm almost certain that this team, considering they have a lot of good players at linebacker, edge, even running back, they might want to keep 4 guys, especially wide receiver. They might want to keep 7 guys. Is there a way that they keep 3 quarterbacks? I think the chances of that are 0, right?
Yeah.
Which means that they're going to expose Reed Sinnett to the waiver wire. Man. I think that game probably got himself onto a team. I think that game, some team is going to say, you know what, let's carry 3. Let's see how it goes this year, and maybe he's a future backup quarterback for us. So if you're a fan of Reed Sinnett, I think, his days as a Dolphin are probably numbered. But if not, that's a guy that you want to bring back onto the practice squad, because you never know. Yeah. Maybe this guy's the next Matt Moore, you never know.
Yes, you're right. So as a fan of Reed, I should have told him to tank yesterday. I should have been like, hey, listen, bro, throw a few more picks on purpose. Just don't look too good. I don't want you getting poached. So you're right about that. But hey, you mentioned a lot of depth. We'll circle back to wide receiver, but I want to talk about running backs first. Who do you think the 4 backs are going to be on this team? Because honestly, I liked what I saw yesterday, and he didn't get as much work on the ground, but Patrick Laird getting a couple of nice catches, and then Jared Dokes had some nice moments, scored 2 rushing touchdowns. So who are the 4 running backs going to end up being on this team?
Yeah, if you do some math with the roster, you kind of come to the realization like keeping 5 running backs is probably not going to happen. So they're probably going to keep 4, which means that 4th spot, if you believe that Malcolm Brown is a lock for the roster,
right? And
I happen to think that he's going to start the season with the Dolphins, and if it doesn't work out, maybe they just dump him or they trade him for maybe back to the Rams even. But if you believe that they're going to keep 4, then that 4th spot is a battle between Jordan Scarlett, Jared Dokes, and Patrick Laird. All 3 guys have cases to make. Jared Dokes' problem really is that he seems to be a gamer, but he's been bad in camp. He's had a drops problem all camp. You got to figure that Jordan Scarlett is probably on the outside looking in, and Patrick Laird is a guy who's done it before and plays special teams. So it's a tough decision. And which of the two can you probably stash in your practice squad? I'd say
Yeah.
that Jared Dokes is probably a guy that you could pass off. Maybe they look at Jared Dokes as Malcolm Brown's backup, and if it doesn't work out with Malcolm Brown, maybe Jared Dokes can play. So I think Jared Dokes probably has the inside track.
Alfredo Arteaga with us here from 3 yards per carry on Donno Daily. What and you mentioned Malcolm Brown, like going to be on this team more than likely. Are you bullish on him? Are you happy about that addition?
I thought he looked good against Atlanta. I thought he looked terrible against the Bears.
Yeah.
It's either or. I like his energy in practice. A lot of people have compared him to Jordan Howard. People got to be a little bit more patient than that. Jordan Howard just did not look like he looked like he was done last year in training camp. Malcolm Brown is a guy that he plays with a lot of energy. He does all the drills 100%. Like you watch him in practice and you could tell, okay, this is still a viable NFL player, not a guy on the way out. So I'm interested to see him in actual games that matter.
Moving on to wide receiver, and I know you love this guy as well. Are we going to be, unfortunately, having to throw a goodbye party for Kirk Merritt? Because if the Dolphins were to try to practice squad him, I could see him getting claimed. No, like, do you think he would actually even clear the waivers, or does he get a spot on the roster? Because if we're going based on Merritt, see what I did there? I think this guy is making a strong case to be on the team.
Yeah, he's had a good camp. There's no other way around it. He's had a good camp and good games too. Like he's a gamer. Like he's a guy who's shown up. But if you look at that wide receiver group, the good news is that you get to protect 4 guys on your practice squad. Those are guys that cannot be poached. I think Kirk Merritt might have gained himself one of those spots. But if you do the math again and you look at that wide receiver core, you got to think there's a trade coming. If there is no trade coming, there's going to be a cut tomorrow that's just going to blow us away. That we're going to be like, we did not see that coming.
Who's got the best trade value out of the fringe guys? Preston Williams, Jakeem Grant, assuming he's not safe. Who do you think has the most trade value?
Well, I think Jakeem Grant's a specialist. Like, what do teams trade for a specialist? A guy who just runs gimmick plays and is a good, very, very good all-pro level punt returner and kick returner. But what do teams pay for that? I think Preston Williams on potential alone could fetch you something better. So I think Preston Williams is probably the guy with the trade value right now.
How much? I mean, if Williams wasn't traded and he does make the roster, are you like me? Because obviously, when he's been on the field, especially last year, really productive on the field, it's the guy's hurt all the time. I'm not really honestly. I wouldn't lose a second of sleep if they would trade him or even let him walk. Like I wouldn't be that upset about it.
Yeah, he was a UDFA coming out. Everybody thought, this is a guy that would have been a second-round pick if he didn't have his off-the-field issues.
Yeah.
And, he kind of proved it. He kind of proved that he is an NFL player, and he was probably better than his UDFA status. So, you hit huge on this guy. But he's always injured. He's not available, and that's a problem, especially for your offense. If one of your lead receivers, one of your starting receivers, is a guy who can't be counted on. And I understand people are going to come back and say, look, what about Devontae Parker? I've tweeted this out 1,000 times, and I've said it on your show a bunch of times as well. Devontae Parker has missed 13 games in 6 years. Now, he may play injured, and he may have knick-knack injuries all the time, but he's in uniform, and he's lined up there on Sundays more often than not. Preston Williams, you can't make that case. Preston Williams is basically a part-time player. He's played half a season twice. So, the clock's ticking on him. This year, if he's injured once again, I think the NFL is going to notice it, and his trade value goes to nothing. So I would make him the most likely to be traded.
Alf, I've seen a couple of folks, even people within our network, just hypothesize what if the Dolphins would consider trading Devontae Parker, which I'm not a fan of, right? And I know, and I like these guys a lot, and we're going to have them on the shows. But, Louis D. Sung brought up the possibility to me last week. I know our guy Hassan Patel has written about it. Not only in what you say is very true, even though he gets these nagging injuries all the time, he's usually getting on the field. He's just not practicing a lot. And part of my issue with the idea of trading Devontae Parker, not only do I think when healthy he's an excellent player, but the other thing of it is I'm not really a fan of trading a guy when his value isn't at the peak, because if you were really going to trade Devontae Parker, the time to do it would have been a year ago, where he was coming off an incredible 2020 season. His stock is lower in 2021 now than it was in 2020 because he did have injury issues last year. So I don't believe you'd be able to sell high. I believe that if you were to trade Devontae Parker right now compared to a year ago, you would be selling him at a discount. I just don't think it's the right time to make a move like that. So I am not a fan of it. Do you think there's any possibility they would consider trading Devontae Parker?
I hope not, and I wouldn't trade him either. And I'll tell you this: most of the people that are making the case for Devontae Parker, they always have the caveat. You know what? Preston Williams could do his job, or maybe even Matt Collins could do his job. If you look at the wide receiver core as it's constructed, there's really only one guy that you can rely on to play physically, and that's Devontae Parker. Can you trust Preston Williams?
No.
To be out there for 16 games? No, you can't. And I like Mike Collins. Mike Collins is a great football player. Like, you win with guys like that at the bottom of your roster. You don't win with guys like that starting, okay, at the X receiver. So Devontae Parker, I think, is valuable in the sense of how he plays, his style of play, and as a security blanket that's gonna erase some of Tua's mistakes this year. That's one thing you have to understand. Devontae Parker, when he wins 50-50 balls, will erase some mistakes.
Yeah.
That are usually interceptions with somebody else.
And I want to be fair to our guy Lewis, because I don't want to mischaracterize his words, and we're going to bring him on this week as well. He says, I'll clarify one more time. I am not advocating a trade. He says, only saying he has the most value to another team. Devontae Parker should stay. So yeah, I don't want to make it sound like Lewis is trying to, drive him out of town or anything like that. So that's fair.
And another thing, and I completely agree for the most part with Lewis, he would get them the biggest haul. Like, I think some team, a contender, is going to look at Devontae Parker and is going to, see how he would fit with their team and say, you know what, it might be worth it for a run at the Super Bowl to unload a second-round pick on the Dolphins. I think it's entirely possible something like that could happen. I don't think it would, and I don't think it should. Another thing about Devontae Parker, his contract's a dream. While you have other players overperform their contracts, Dolphins are laughing all the way to the bank with this contract, and then they're looking at him saying, "We're getting this production for this amount of money," and he's happy, and he's not complaining about it. Yeah, you don't trade guys like that.
Now, so many of these depth questions we have leading into the deadline tomorrow, 4 p.m., to get the roster down to 53. We've talked so much about the offense. Could there, Alf, be any roster decisions on the defensive side of the football that are going to really shock fans, or is it more straightforward? Like, is my guy Sam Egwavon safe, who balled out in that second preseason game? Could there be anything on defense that surprises us?
I think Sam Egwavon is safe for two reasons. First of all, he seems to be firmly entrenched as a scrape linebacker on the second team. That's important because you want a capable backup for Jerome Baker, especially on this type of defense. So I think he's safe. I think as far as an important battle to look for, is there going to be anything that's going to wow us? I doubt it. But Jason Strowbridge is a guy who was drafted last year. I think he's in there for the last defensive end spot against Tyson Render. One of those two has to go. And in my opinion, it should be Strowbridge. I think Strowbridge hasn't shown enough in the last 2 years. But other than that, on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's extremely set.
Yeah.
Like I don't see where we're going to get wowed by a cut. I think there's some good battles. Javaris Davis and Trill Williams is worth watching because I think one of them also has to go. And I think they're both capable players. So other than that, I don't think we're in for any surprises on the defensive side of the ball.
Really well said here. Alfredo Arteaga. You want to check out his work on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast. Very popular, and there's a reason why. These guys do a fantastic job. 3 Yards Per Carry here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Alf, thank you so much, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
I love it. Really good stuff there from Alf. So Sean Stanley, I want to make sure I have this right because I thought that the guest times were flip-flopped. So Allana is 12:40, right? She's going to be on with us. I feel bad because I tweeted out the reverse. I tweeted it out wrong.
Yeah, I will let you know at 12:40 if Alana's on or not.
He will let me know. The boss will let me know. By the way, I was having a really sad conversation before the show with Sean, and you guys expect better from me. I'm sure you're going to be disappointed because you know that I love combat sports and I stay on top of everything. I have not, at least not yet, watched the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley fight because I was in Dolphins mode yesterday. I watched the Dolphins game, then I was doing a post-game show afterwards. So and I wasn't going to go out of my way to pay $60 for that nonsense. That was highway robbery. I saw Jake Paul won a split decision, which I was happy with because I actually bet on Jake Paul. That was, I think, the only bet that I won all weekend. It was not a very good weekend, but I did win. I did win on Jake Paul, but no, I haven't seen it. Like, are people outraged by the decision, Sean? Are they outraged just at the fact they spent $60 on it? Like, what's the mood on that?
I haven't seen any outrage, honestly, as far as that goes, except for Woodley, I guess, was upset. He thought he had won the fight, which everybody else has been telling me that was not even close. It was Jake Paul winning the decision, and now apparently he has reached out to his tattoo artist, and apparently he's going to go through with the tattoo of getting oh,
that's right, they had a tattoo bet.
Yeah, so I guess now he's come to terms after sleeping on it that he has lost the fight.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh man, so in about 4 minutes. Oh, and you know what, Manny Chang did tell me this because I think he watched the fight. Woodley could have finished him, but he danced around, which is really stupid. So no outrage. Check Black Twitter. Oh, I didn't know. See, I didn't know that. So this is a rate. Oh, we're ashamed. Ricky says. Oh no. And you know what?
YouTuber.
I side with Black Twitter on that because I certainly, even though I'm a white dude, I'm not a Jake Paul backer. So I firmly stand with hashtag Black Twitter. I'm a big Tyron Woodley fan. I do not want Jake Paul representing who I am in any way. So I represent Black Twitter on that one. Oh man. Oh, Brooklyn Rob writes in, you won all week. Well, yeah, my teams won their games. I didn't win enough of my bets, unfortunately. He said, I am the mush. Now, the reason why Brooklyn Rob is calling me the mush is Brooklyn Rob, as you could tell from his avatar, he's a big Juventus fan, who I despise. I'm an Inter Milan fan, big rivalry with Juventus. We hate them. They hate us. It's a whole thing. It goes back more than a century. And I did pick preseason. I picked his side, who I hate, Juventus. I did pick them to win the Scudetto, to win the Italian Serie A championship. And Juventus, to start the season, they have, against a couple bad teams, they drew against Udinese, and they lost to Empoli, who were just promoted from Serie B last year. That is a hellish start for Juventus, and they sold Cristiano Ronaldo. So Brooklyn Rob is in the mud, and he is blaming me because I picked Juventus to win the Serie A before the season started, a move. I will not confirm or deny this, but I may or may not have done this on purpose to mush his team. So sorry about that, Brooklyn Rob. So I'm winning there, even though I lost a few bets over the weekend. But actually, I did win. I did win one of my UFC bets over the weekend, and I won on Jake Paul. So fighting wise, it wasn't bad. Just didn't do so well on NFL preseason. Oh man. By the way, I want to get to a story later. We're going to talk to Allana Tachauer in a moment. I found this story this morning, which is delightful, and I want to later in the week. I want to bring Larry Bluestein on to talk about this. Did you guys see this story about a possibly fake high school that duped their way into playing against IMG Academy on ESPN yesterday? An online prep school, which may or may not really exist, and they're called Bishop Sycamore. There was never a bishop named Sycamore. Like, it reminds me of, what is that movie called? Was it Undeclared? Was that the movie? Did you guys ever see the movie? Came out like, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, a dumb comedy where Justin Long creates a fake university and then like people enroll and then he's like, oh my God, I made the whole thing up and now it's like it's really here. So it's kind of like that. Like, this reminds me, I think it was called Excel. That's what it was. Accepted. Thank you, JP Max. That was the movie, Accepted. This is like a real life Accepted. Like, some dude created a fake online prep school. Probably just some dudes who came together to play football, and they got embarrassed by IMG Academy. And I didn't watch the whole game, but it was on ESPN. I'm watching clips of it today, and the commentators were livid. They were like, this is a safety risk. These kids could get hurt. They had to admit, Sean, they admitted on the broadcast that the school, Bishop Sycamore, which may or may not even really exist, they duped ESPN because they claimed we have a number of Division I prospects playing for our team. But then ESPN didn't bother to actually verify the information.
I do research.
Yeah.
And then also they lost Friday night to another team, but it was a closer game. It was 19.
Well, but I heard it may not have even been the same team. Like there might even be a real Bishop Sycamore, but that the team who played IMG was not. Like they might have been so the school may not exist, period. Yeah. And if it does exist, the guys who played against IMG on Sunday were not even the real Bishop Sycamore.
You would think if you did that, you would at least get guys that could compete, right? Not go out there and get Alex, you, Manny will put on some uniforms and we'll challenge IMG next week. We'll be on ESPN at least.
Oh, I'm too washed. Like 10 years ago, I could have done it and probably done pretty well. But no, if I were to suit up against I would get killed. 15-year-old would run over me. No, I'm telling you, 10 years ago, I could have done it.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
now, more than 10 years ago. You know what my year was? Like Uncle Rico had 1982. For me, it was 2003 was my year. I was just out of high school then, so I was only a year removed. I was in the best shape of my life. I could have hung with IMG Academy in 2003. But I'm washed. I've spent the last 18 years just on a steady decline. All right, guys, let's. They should have been on the Ocho. Mike Monaco from the Bronx says they are on ESPN, the Ocho, right? Cotton, yes, Cotton. All right, so let's bring in our next guest. Love her work. Clutch Corner does an awesome job here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We love having our Monday chats with Allana Tachauer. Allana Tachauer, who joins us live from Chi-Town. Allana, how are you?
You know what? I'm feeling spicy today, so we're gonna have a good show.
Well, that's gonna be a great show. Now, yeah, first, because we obviously talk Miami Heat with you, but being in Chicago, like how much excitement is there for the Bulls this year? Like, where do you think the Bulls are gonna finish? Because they obviously had a very busy offseason, as did the Miami Heat.
Yeah, you know what? I was just talking to my friend yesterday about this, and he is just so hyped. He's like, finally, the Bulls are giving Chicago something to look forward to. I will say Chicago Bulls fans are pretty good about like hanging in with the team regardless of what it's looking like. But it's going to be fun here. I'm definitely going to way more games, I think, this year than ever before.
Are Chicago Bulls fans, like the ones who are old enough, obviously, are they kind of like the really old Miami Dolphins fans who are like, and I wasn't born early enough, but for the ones who got to live through the perfect season, they're kind of just like, you know what, my life was fulfilled by that. I'm good. Whereas, so like the Chicago Bulls fans who are, in their 30s, 40s and up, who can remember Jordan and dominating an entire decade. Do you think that's why they're more patient? Because the ones who are like over the age of 30 are like, dude, we had one of the greatest runs in NBA history. So that satisfies you for a few decades, I think.
Yeah, I think part of it is just like it's become tradition, right? For so many people here, it's just like you go to games just to have fun. It doesn't necessarily matter how the team's doing. And also, I mean, people love to hate. And so when a team's not doing well, especially when, like, let's be honest, most of it was the front office's fault. There just becomes this like culture of everyone just hating on them together. It brings people together. At one point, there was a billboard right off of our biggest expressway that was literally like #FireGarPax. And like a bunch of people off Bulls Twitter came together, paid for it. It got taken down very, very swiftly because it's literally right on the way to the United Center. But like it just became a thing here to hate. But now people can actually get excited about the team and bond over, all the new acquisitions. I, for one, am excited. And especially like it came off, I think, of a good, obviously the COVID year and then kind of the asterisk year going into that way. So I think like the timing is also perfect.
By the way, I love how, first of all, the second that you came on and said you were feeling spicy today, you got the immediate from Ricky J. Mark. And then Michael Christian is asking if you're talking to the feds or something because your hand is on your earpiece. Do you have like
my buds will not stay in for the life of me. It's only on this show. Like Michael can attest to this. When we're potting these I'm like, I'm good. But right now they're just not staying in. Also, Michael loves to like rev me up. Like he already knows I'm in a spicy mood. He's just going to do whatever it takes to get worse.
Oh my God. But by the way, this is something interesting that I found, and this is actually courtesy of our official sportsbook, BetUS.com. I don't really see how this information helps me as an NBA fan, but I'm glad that they published this list. So they put out a list of the most stressed fan bases in the NBA, and it's clearly based on your description. It's not Bulls fans, and they do not even crack the top 10 here.
Mm-mm.
But the Miami Heat actually come in number 4 of the most stressed fan bases. And honestly, they don't give a whole lot of criteria as to exactly what that means. But I can take it to some point as a compliment because, like, fans, they've got to have some expectation of their team to be stressed about it. It's like you won't find very many stressed Marlins fans because there's like 8 people who care about the team. Whereas the Miami Heat, you get more stressed when you care about the team. They had a disappointing first-round exit last year. They got swept. That stresses people out. So I will take that as a compliment. But being a Heat fan, do you find yourself especially stressed?
I don't, but I also just think like Heat fans have something to complain about all the time. Like whatever is going on is never good enough. So I can kind of understand that. But I also feel like Heat fans just love the team anyway. So that kind of did surprise me. I feel like kind of like, how I was talking about that Bulls fans go to the games regardless. I feel like Heat fans pretty much stick through the team for better or worse. So I don't know, to your point, what criteria they're using. And I also don't know, like, what does stress mean? Like unhappy with the team, stressed about the wins? Like I need more information on this, but like besides just having this ranking.
Well, I know what gets a lot of Heat fans stressed out is feeling like they get disrespected by the national media. Like I know it stresses out Ethan Skolnick because like every show he does
doesn't stress out Ethan Skolnick though.
Fair point. But he gets stressed not on national TV enough. They don't get a Christmas Day game, which does kind of stress me out. So, I mean, feeling like you're hated. And, okay, during the Big 3 era, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed being the bad guy because if the team is going to 4 straight finals and winning 2 titles, I'm okay with Skip Bayless saying nasty things about my team. It doesn't bother me. But I do think being hated on is a little bit more stressful when your team is not great. So maybe the perception is part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are getting sick of us we're not even the underdogs anymore. We're kind of just the forgotten ones.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this last week. The excuses that they're using for why, we aren't getting a Christmas Day game or why we're not nationally televised more, that's bogus. Like, just be straight up, or at least just don't give an excuse. But to say like a first round exit, that just ain't it. I think honestly, we're probably going to see more national games, I think, as the season goes by, because they like to kind of tack those on. Because I think the Heat are going to do better than people assume. But that might be part of the stress.
So just for reference, I won't spend a whole lot more time on this list. But since I mentioned the Heat are number 4, I'll give you the top 10. Philadelphia 76ers come in at number 1.
I didn't see that, but I literally was about to say, let me guess, Sixers are first. So that
it sounds about right because all I hear from people from Philly is just complaint after complaint after complaint. The Celtics are at number 2, and a lot of the Celtics fans I know are awful human beings. So it's like to be angry and mean all the time is very stressful, I guess. See, this one I don't really agree with. The Cleveland Cavaliers at number 3.
What is there to be stressed about? You guys are going to suck every year.
If anything, they should just be so thankful that LeBron James was born nearby your city, right? Because if he hadn't have been born in Akron, he probably would have never gone back to Cleveland and won a title there. So it's like you should feel like, oh, I'm so lucky that one of the most talented players of all time happened to be born in an outskirt of my city, and he chose to play here after he left after being drafted. So the Cavs at number 3, the Heat 4. The Clippers number 5. I guess being the stepchild in your own city is gets stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philly and Boston makes a whole lot of sense there. Otherwise, I don't really agree with this list. But again, like, can we get a little bit more specific on what A, stress means, and B, like, what are you using to gauge this?
And also, like, it comes from a betting service, and I don't even see anything to bet on here. Like, I don't really understand. Like, I don't really understand the purpose. So it's Hawks 6, Pistons 7, 8 Suns, 9 Magic, and Mavericks at number 10.
What is there to be stressed as a Magic fan? Just be thankful that like y'all even have a team.
Yeah, you got. I guess because the tickets to Disney are so expensive now. It's like that's kind of stressful. Because like
we got to see if Michael's stressed stressed over here.
I feel
Michael
bad for
comes into
Michael.
our pods on Monday night pretty stressed out, so maybe there is something to that.
I'm telling you, because now I've got a child who's of age where we have to buy him a ticket. So Disney World has gotten really expensive now for a family of 3. So I could understand being stressed about that. So moving on, something I'm curious as to your take on, and I think we talked about this player, right after he wound up in Los Angeles, but how much do you think the Heat could miss Kendrick Nunn this coming season? Do you think people will talk about Kendrick the same way we talked about Jay Crowder last year, like the one who got away?
I don't think so. And I say this as someone who, I was in full support of Kendrick, not only because he's from Chicago, but I do think that he, in another situation, could have probably progressed a little bit further with this team. I think timing was off. I also, and this is speculation, I don't know anything, Spo just didn't seem to be his biggest fan. There were times when he was not getting any tick for seemingly no reason at all. Doesn't seem like he was injured. We weren't even playing well to the fact of like, okay, maybe you don't need him. I think he's going to do well in the Lakers. I actually really like that signing. I'm happy for him, but I don't think it's going to be one of those regret moments. Obviously, and like we said, this kind of depends on how Depot is, because if we're missing bodies, then that's going to play a role. But I'm happy for him. I don't think that we're going to have the same feeling that we did about Jay, which I still cry over on a weekly basis at this point.
Me too. So the Heat end up giving a standard deal to Gabe Vincent and to Max Strus as well. Now I know Ethan has said on 5 on the Floor, and I don't have any reason to disagree with it, that Gabe Vincent is being viewed as their backup point guard. Do you think he's ready for a rotation role?
I think that what he showed on Team Nigeria, if that keeps up, then I would say yes. I also think that, to his credit, he stayed really ready all season, even if he only got a few minutes of play each night. It seems like he was fully bought into the system. He definitely seems like a culture guy. So I'm not surprised by that. And I think that, if he keeps up what he was looking like over the summer, that would be good. I think it's going to take some time, so I hope fans don't expect too much right off the bat, because I think overall this is going to be a problem of just developing chemistry. We do have kind of a gutted out roster, and even guys who are coming back, their roles are different, so people just need to be patient.
Yeah, no doubt about that. By the way, I see Mike Monaco from the Bronx trying to stir shit up here. He claims that I like ketchup on steak.
I saw that, but didn't want to call you out. Is this true?
No, it's couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, I have probably the loudest anti-ketchup agenda in the entire world.
You don't like ketchup on anything.
Nothing. I have argued, Allana. I have actually made the argument that society is moving beyond a need for ketchup. I think the only thing that ketchup serves, the only purpose it serves, is you can still mix it with other things to make sauces. Like ketchup can be a base.
You don't like
for
it
other
on
sauces.
fries?
No, I'm not
What do you
7
eat on
anymore.
your fries then?
A nice aioli is good.
Okay, I do. Okay,
yeah.
I can understand that.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't get rid of ketchup. I need ketchup for my fries.
No, I can do without it. Like, again, you can, like, the other day I made this like burger sauce that involved mixing ketchup with other ingredients. It was really good. So ketchup, like, I'm okay with ketchup existing. I'm just not going to use plain ketchup.
You don't want it to be the main character, though.
No, I don't.
A behind the scenes type of. Okay, I understand. I'm really peculiar with my ketchup. I only like the sugar-free one. I feel like
that's
sugar
better,
and
actually.
Ketchup,
Yeah, that's
sugar
better.
and ketchup throws off the balance, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, because I've had the sugar-free one, or at least like the less sugar one, and it's got more of a bite to it.
Organic, no sugar is the only thing that'll ever exist in my fridge. So it's a struggle when I go out, because I'm like, do I bring my own ketchup bottle? Because that's a little weird. I have left ketchup bottles at friends' houses before, though, because I'm like, I don't have to worry about the degree of ketchup or the level of ketchup you can offer me. So just a little fun fact, just leave condiments at your friend's house. That's super helpful.
By the way, I love how people share their recipes. Like Ricky J. Mark says, ketchup, mustard, paprika, and lemon pepper. You're welcome. That sounds really good, Ricky. Plus mayo. Yeah, mayo to me, again, like if some people don't like mayo by itself, fine. Like I like it on sandwiches by itself, but mayo is a boss when it comes to mixing with other things. A lot of times you'll eat a really great sauce. You don't even realize mayo is in everything.
That's true. Mayo is in everything. I didn't realize that either. People put down mayo, but they haven't experienced it the right way. That's my thought anyway.
Yeah, and Ninja Viking writes in, I am from Miami where we mix ketchup and mayo. Yeah, we call that fancy sauce, I think is what they called that on Step Brothers on the deleted scenes when they made the fancy sauce with the just ketchup and mayo mixed together. I don't know how we got this far away from basketball talk.
I'm great at tangents. Just ask Michael. Our whole show is a tangent at this point, especially in the off season.
I thrive on tangents. Allana Tachauer, thank you so much. For those who are watching, you see where to follow. Spicy Mayo. That's a good one, Adam. That's a great one. Has he changed his Twitter handle back to something that I recognize?
God, I hope so. I haven't checked in, but that's a good point.
So you guys know where to follow Allana at Allana Tachauer on Twitter. When's the next time we're going to see you on the network? You have any shows coming up?
Well, Michael and I are recording tonight, so a new pod will be up tomorrow. And I believe we are bringing Clutch Corner back, a non-football related Clutch Corner, I hope, this week. And there's other stuff brewing. So you'll see plenty of me this week and the following. Thanks, Allana. Have a great day. Thank you. Good stuff there as always from Allana Tachauer. Yeah, I mean, my guy Mike is trying to call me out for putting ketchup on steak. I call others out for ketchup on steak. You know, my biggest crusades. I'm anti ketchup on steak, and I am anti pineapple on pizza. And I like pineapple. I just don't want it on pizza. Spicy mayo goes fantastic on tempura sushi. I agree. Spicy mayo is one of the GOAT sauces. You know, I'm thinking. We got a few days to marinate on this, pun intended. We do our Foodie Friday segments on Fridays. Today's Monday, so we have plenty of time. If we want to start compiling a list right now, a power ranking of the top 20 dipping sauces, we can totally bust that out on Friday. I feel like this is the segment that Sean Stanley is born for. Although I don't think Sean has the most adventurous palate. He'll probably have like 1 through 5 on his list, just being various varieties of ketchup. But are you down for this, man? That on Friday we can give a power ranking of dipping sauces, because we could have a lot of fun with this.
Hey, I'm down for it if you're down for it, but I can tell you now, not a lot of range on my palate.
It's gonna be, what do you mean top 20? Here's my top 3. You got your ketchup. I don't know why I make you sound like a 1930s.
What is going on here?
You're working in a 1930s Manhattan newsstand now. Here's your top 3. We got your ketchup as number 1. We got your barbecue sauce at number 2, and we got honey mustard at number 3. And that's Sean's list. I don't need 17 through 20. That's all you need.
Yeah, it'll be 1 through 5 is this, 6 through 10 is this, 7 through.
By the way, Mike Monaco, he's my friend again, even though he lied to me. He says, I like tzatziki sauce. That's the sauce you put on gyros. Ooh, that's good. Mecca writes in. Hold on, pull that one up again. Sounds like Miami is going to get Watson, but they don't want to give up Tua, because in case Watson doesn't work out and Tua plays, they can get a lot for Watson next year. That was the hypothesis that Alfredo Arteaga brought up to us. So once this video is over, you can go back and watch Alfredo's interview. He joined me about 16 minutes into the show. That was his hypothesis. Now you're putting Tua in a really weird spot. Now I do think Tua is strong mentally. So I don't think that's going to ruin him. Like if you were to bring in a guy who may not even be allowed to play this year and kind of stash him for next year to see how Tua does this year, some people think that would ruin Tua's mentality. I think Tua is strong enough that he could make the most out of that situation. I'm just really not a fan in general of Deshaun Watson. Now, I get it that Chris Greer probably has a price that he's thinking, if I can get this at such a supreme discount, like, because obviously with what Nick Caserio is asking for, the Texans GM, if they're still asking for 3 first-round picks and a pair of second-round picks, that's a non-starter. Like, you can't give that up for a guy who's been accused by 22 women of sexual misconduct and has 10 criminal complaints filed against him. No charges yet, but these complaints are filed again. We are very far from a resolution with all of his legal troubles. I've read some detailed accounts of what he's been accused of, and I think the guy is absolutely disgusting. Worst case scenario, he's a criminal. Best case scenario, he's a sleazeball. So, I don't necessarily want this guy representing my franchise, but I certainly would not give up in his situation 3 first rounders and 2 second rounders for him. Real quick here before before we wrap it up. Oh, and I like, by the way, this comment from Ryan. He says, the Watson rumors are originating from Houston. It's not happening, and they're getting desperate. When the FBI lets it be known they are involved, you stay away regardless of value. I definitely think that it's more likely the reports are coming more from Houston because, like he said, they've got to get their roster down to 53 tomorrow at 4 p.m. And they would prefer to have resolution on Watson by then. Is he taking up a roster spot? Is he on our IR, even though he's not really injured? Can you lie and sneak him on the IR? It'd be very easy for them to trade like that. Not easy for them to do it, but that would be the easiest way for them to resolve their roster situation would be to try to trade him. So they're desperate. And Watson is also desperate. I mean, even before any of the allegations came up, he wanted to be out of Houston. So he has not wanted to be there. All right. So I think he's desperate to get out of there. I think Houston's desperate to make a trade. So the rumors are probably coming out of that camp. So I wanted to read a little bit of this piece from Zach Barnett on this this allegedly might be fake high school that played against IMG Academy on ESPN yesterday and got shellacked. The ESPN family of networks were jam-packed with high school football this weekend. The first of the 2021 campaign and first real season in 2 years. That's right. You didn't only some states played high school football, some didn't last year. The weekend was concluded Sunday with the grand finale, the Hall of Fame Classic at Canton, Ohio. Pitting defending national champion IMG Academy against a high school that doesn't really exist. Went full Dr. Evil on that one. ESPN seemed just as confused as the rest of us and said so as its announcers vamped their way through a game that was not at all the one they thought they were getting. For starters, the high school, Bishop Sycamore, claiming to be from Columbus, Ohio, went 0-6 last season. That was the program's second season in existence. IMG pummeled Sycamore by a score of 56-6, but nevertheless, Sycamore got in Sunday's showcase game because, according to ESPN, the school acquired a number of FBS prospects to its roster, except, as the announcers explained, that turned out not to be true. Quote, Bishop Sycamore told us they had a number of Division I prospects. To be frank, a lot of that we could not verify. You just take their word for it? Like, you don't call Andrew Ivins at Rivals, be like, hey, can you tell me the Division I prospects that are on Bishop Sycamore's roster? Does Bishop Sycamore actually have a roster? These are the things we wonder now. Now, the obvious question is why ESPN would put a team on its air it knew so little about. Sunday's matchup, along with every game on ESPN, aired across its weekend-long Geico high school football kickoff slate, I should say, was apparently arranged by Paragon Marketing Group. So they used a third party to arrange it. Bishop Sycamore, or at least a team of high school age kids wearing Bishop Sycamore uniforms, also played Friday night. And I talked about this with Sean, that it might have actually been a completely different team entirely that played Friday night. That might have been the real Bishop Sycamore, and the one that played on Sunday was a bunch of imposters. This is crazy. Stowe Rocks of McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, defeated Bishop Sycamore 19-7 on Friday. After losing in Pennsylvania on Friday, Bishop Sycamore was drilled 58-0 against IMG on Sunday. Vanishingly little on Sycamore's founding exists on the internet. What appears to be the school's website, bishopsycamore.org, is basically a blog. Its most recent post on May 21st explains how to catch a college football recruiter's attention on social media. The website's About You's section is blank, or About Us section, is blank. The only hard proof I could find of the school's existence outside of the football team is an independent article written in an Ohio paper last September where, even in the most favorable light, this online-only prep school exists somewhere in between Findlay Prep and Prime Prep on the spectrum of alternative, sports-focused high schools. This may be one of the greatest scams ever pulled off. And for the players who were involved, your reward for duping ESPN was going out there and getting embarrassed by IMG Academy. I hope it was worth it. I hope it was. Want to thank everyone who listened in today. We had a lot of fun. Allana Tachauer joined us. Alfredo Arteaga joined us. I gave you my grievances and the reasons why I don't want Deshaun Watson anywhere near this team. So huge thanks. I'm going to try to shout out as many commenters as possible because we like to bring the interaction strong every day. I see Ryan, Mike Monaco from the Bronx, although he slandered my good name with the ketchup comment. David, Ricky J. Mark, Fantasy Fan Panel, Adam Barai stopped by. We love Adam. Ninja Viking. Let's see who else here. Another Ryan was in. Michael Christian stopped in. And Welch was in as always. I don't want to scroll all the way to the top of the page. So thanks everyone for tuning in today on another episode of Donno Daily. Make sure to support our sponsors, BetUS.com, the official sports book of Donno Daily. Guys, it's getting to be that time. Football season is right around the corner. Week 1 in college football coming up. Week 1 in the NFL coming up the week after that. You want to make sure when you sign up, you use our code 5RSN125. That gets you a sweet 125% sign up bonus. When I made a $150 deposit a couple weeks back, instantly an additional $187.50 of free play money just showed up in my account. It was there. It was incredible. And I went through that free play money over the course of a couple of weeks, had an awesome time with it. So make sure you sign up, betus.com, use our code. What I love about BetUS is, first of all, customer service is second to none. And they've got odds on anything you can imagine. Any sport you can imagine. I've made college lacrosse bets on BetUS. They have pop culture bets. They have an online casino. So, yeah, you get all the NFL, college football action, international soccer that you crave, and you get a lot of miscellaneous stuff to go along with that. Huge thanks to Manny Chang. Huge thanks to Sean Stanley. And, of course, Alfredo Arteaga and Allana Tachauer for joining us. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 12 noon, right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.